Hey, what is going on everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and in this video here, we're going to be focusing really on Rock Band Blitz here. And I know I've been doing a bit of that for several of my videos covering Bad Update on the Xbox 360, but in case you haven't actually played Rock Band Blitz before, it's actually quite a fun game, and there is a pretty cool community around the rhythm games such as Rock Band and Guitar Hero as well too, that allow for a lot of really cool mods and custom content, and that's what we're going to be covering on here. I'm going to be showing you all how you can take your copy of Rock Band Blitz like this one, and how you'll be able to modify it with the Ultimate mod, and we're going to be using that to install custom songs or content or charts, really what you're wanting to call it on here. Now I'm going to be covering this for both systems, the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, and one prerequisite is that you have to have a modified Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 capable of running homebrew. That means for the Xbox 360, you'll need something like a JTAG or RGH, even Bad Update, and for the PS3, you'll need custom firmware or PS3 HIN, in addition to already having your copy of Rock Band Blitz installed and ready to go. You're also going to need a USB drive for this, and we're also going to need a computer because we're going to need to download a few files, install a few applications, and just do a few things to get everything converted properly on here. So I'll show you all the steps, but one last thing is that even though I'm going to be covering it for both systems, the Xbox 360 is going to have more steps to it, so I'll say it's going to be simpler on the PS3 side of house if you're a PS3 owner, but just keep that in mind. There's going to be a few more downloads for the Xbox 360, so that means with those extra steps, I'm also going to have several timestamps down below in the description, and I will clarify which ones are for Xbox 360 and which ones are for PS3, just to have it clarified a bit for you all. Now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with our steps to get this up and running. This is going to be for the Xbox 360 first of all. You do need this game installed with either system, PS3 or 360. However, on the Xbox 360 version, we are going to have to dump our game that has been installed. So in order to do that, of course, hook up a USB drive, and then you can go ahead, go over, bring up the guide, go to system settings, and exit out. Now once this pops up, go down to storage, make sure your USB drive is showing up, and if it isn't, you can go ahead and format it here by hitting the A button or the Y button depending on the formatting, and go to format. Now I don't need to do this since I've already done this to my drive, but just keep that in mind in case it is not showing up properly. Next you can go over to where you have the game installed. Mine is on the hard drive. I'm going to find it here, Rock Band Blitz. Find the arcade game itself, tap the A button, and let's go ahead, copy it over to our USB drive, and give it a few moments to copy over. And there we go, that's now been copied over, so at this point we can unplug our USB drive and now go over to our computer because more of the work is going to be on there. Now let's go ahead and start knocking the downloads for the applications and mods that we're going to need. The first one here is going to be Rock Band Blitz Ultimate, and this is going to be the mod that is going to be installed on top of Rock Band Blitz from I Am Synchrony. All of these will be linked down below in the description, and you can check out the additions right here, which you can see there's a nice amount of really cool additions to this mod. Plus, this is required in order to play our custom content, so keep that in mind. You must have a modified copy of it. You cannot use the stock version, unfortunately. However, with all of this here, you can come over to the releases section, and from here, scroll down and look for the install for your platform. Now, since I'm going to be using this on Xbox here first, you can download the Xbox zip and save it somewhere you can easily find it. And of course, if you have the PS3 version, you're going to have to denote which region you're using. If you have the US version installed, download the US PKG. And if you have the European version installed, download the European PKG. The next thing here we're going to be using is Onyx, which as it states here is a toolkit for converting and building songs for Rock Band, Guitar Hero, Clone Hero, and other similar games. Because that's a nice thing about this as well too, we're going to be able to convert between formats. So for example, if you're finding songs or even if you're making songs that are just for Clone Hero, we can go ahead and get these converted over to Rock Band Blitz, which is pretty great here. So what you'll need to do is scroll over here, go to the releases section, and then you're going to need to download the latest release for the platform that you are using. Now, if you're on Windows, download the Windows executable and go through and install it like a normal application. It's also available on Mac OS and Linux. So just pick your platform you're on, download, save, and install this. These next downloads here are going to be Xbox 360 exclusive, and this here is going to be Horizon, which this is personally what I use for easy USB file management for the Xbox 360. I've enjoyed this program for a while. Some people might have other preferences, but it's really up to you for what you want to use. Either way, you can go ahead and download this, which will download an executable, which you can just install like any other application. The next Xbox 360 exclusive is going to be this program called Velocity. This is going to allow us to actually extract our copy of Rock Band Blitz, which will be required here. So from here, again, click on the releases section and download the zip file somewhere you can easily find it. Finally, this one here is going to be completely dependent on the motherboard you're using for your Xbox 360. If you have a Corona motherboard, you are going to need the Corona Keys Fix plugin. This will be for hard modded systems such as RGH and JTAG systems. If you're not sure what motherboard you're using, you can go over to your system, go ahead and launch Dash Launch. Again, this is going to be for hard modded systems, and then in the bottom right corner of the screen, you're going to look at what the board is. If your board shows as Corona, you're going to need this plugin. If it does not show up as a Corona board, then you will not need this plugin. However, since I'm performing this on a Corona motherboard, you are going to need to come over here, click on releases, and then download the latest XEX file somewhere you can find it. So now with all of our downloads here, let's go ahead and work on getting our Xbox 360 build modified to the ultimate mod. So for this, you are going to need Horizon, and of course this is just going to be a standard setup, so if you haven't installed this before, you're just going to need to go through the install process. I've already installed it, which is why there's a big uninstall button, but once you walk through that process, you should be all good. And once it's installed, we can go ahead and delete that. So now after Horizon has been installed, plug in your USB drive, open it up, it should show like this here, and what you'll need to do is navigate to Games, find Rock Band Blitz, and find the game itself. Now you can right click this and click on extract file. Now the file is just going to look something like this here, and that's okay, we don't need to worry about the file name, but just save this somewhere you know where it is. So I'm going to save it into my Rock Band Blitz folder and click on save. And from there, it's extracting from the USB drive, and there we go, it's all done. So once that's completed, we can now close out of Horizon. The next step will now be extracting this out. So grab your Velocity zip, right click it, use something such as 7-zip or whatever your favorite extraction software is to extract it into its own folder. This will now give us a Velocity folder in which you can open this up and look for the Velocity executable, then double click it to run it. It will bring up something like this, which is exactly what we're looking for. So we can close out of that folder. Within Velocity, go to File, Open, and now open up a package. Now look for wherever you saved Rock Band Blitz to. I found it in my folder here. Click that and click on open. It's going to look like this. All you need to do is highlight all of the files within this package, right click, and click on extract all. Now in order to extract this, I'm going to create a new folder because this is going to be a different build of the game, and I'm going to call it Rock Band Blitz Ultimate, just so I know what it is. Click in there, and then you can select folder and wait for it to extract. As you can see, it took like 1 second. Now once that's done, we can close out of Velocity. Now we need to patch the game itself. So grab your Rock Band Blitz Ultimate zip that we downloaded, this is the mod itself, and extract it out into its own folder. Now we need to open up this folder. There should only be one folder in here called Xbox. Go into the Xbox folder and you're going to see gen, screenshots, and a default.xex. Highlight all of these, right click, and copy them out. Now close out of here, go over to where you've extracted out Rock Band, go into your Rock Band Blitz Ultimate folder, and inside of here, you can now right click and paste. And if it asks you to overwrite anything, you're going to want to overwrite the files. So now with the files in place, we've successfully modified our copy of Rock Band Blitz. In order to now transfer it back over, we can right click our Ultimate folder, copy it out, go over to your USB drive, and you can put this wherever you're wanting to. Since I'm going to plan on transferring this to my internal drive, I'm going to right click and paste and just put it in the root. And for the remainder of this video, we're not going to need the extracted mod itself, Velocity, or the zip file with Velocity. So I'm going to delete those as well. Now the last file we're going to need here is going to be the Corona Keys Fix if you have a Corona motherboard. So we can go ahead, right click and copy or cut this out. I'm actually going to cut it. And wherever we've saved this here, we can go ahead, right click and paste that plugin. So now with that done, we have our modified game, we have our plugin for Corona motherboards. We can now come back out here, right click, eject our USB drive, and modify the game on our Xbox. Back over at the Xbox, plug in your USB drive, and now if you're using something such as Aurora or XEX menu, really any type of file manager, you're going to want to open that up. So for Aurora, I'm going to press the back button on my controller, go to the file manager, and go over to your USB drive. And there's going to be a couple things we'll need. The first one, of course, is going to be Rock Band Blitz, which you can highlight this, tap the X button, navigate over to the left, and tap the A button on the copy option. Now hit the right bumper if you're going to be transferring this to an internal drive, for example. I'm going to be doing that, so I'm going to go to my HDD1, I'm going to go into the Games folder, and from here, navigate over to the left, go down, tap the A button on paste, and say yes. So it's now going to transfer this to the internal drive. Again, if you want to play it from your external drive, you can do that as well too. I just prefer to have my games on the internal drive here. And there we go, it's been copied over, so we can exit out of there. Now the next thing we're going to need from the USB drive itself, if you have a Corona motherboard, like I said, is going to be Corona Keys Fix. You can go ahead, highlight this again, tap the X button, navigate over to the left, hit A on the copy option, now hit the right bumper again, and within HDD1, that's where you're going to need to be, you can pick where you want to put your plugins. Now I already have a plugins folder here, so I'm going to go in here, and you can see I actually already have Corona Keys Fix. So I'm going to navigate to the left, go down to paste, hit A, and say yes. Now with all the file copies completed, let's get this sorted out. Again, if you have a Corona motherboard, you're now going to need to go into Dash Launch and give it a launch. And from here, navigate down to your plugins section, tap the A button to open it, and find any of the open plugins you have here. I already have one in plugin 1, so I'm going to go to plugin 2. Tap the A button, go to your hard drive, wait for this to load up, go to the plugins folder, and inside of here, find Corona Keys Fix, and tap the A button. Now that that's been loaded up into one of our plugin slots, tap the right bumper, and you can now choose where you want to save this. Now by default, you can see from the green icon, my launch INI is saved to the internal hard drive. So I'm just going to highlight this, tap the X button, and you can see here it's been saved to launch INI. At this point, you can now hit the right bumper, and we can quit out of Dash Launch. And one thing I've noticed that's helped after you install that plugin, if you had to do that, go ahead and do a full power cycle of your system. So bring up the guide, turn off your system, and turn it back on. And once our system reboots, we now need to add Rock Band Blitz Ultimate to our actual menu here. So if it hasn't auto-scanned, you just need to go to the Start button on Aurora, go down to Content, and make sure that a path has been added for wherever you installed your game at. Mine has already been added there, but I do need to manually scan. So I'm going to hit the Scan Now option, and it should start scanning. I'm actually going to navigate over here, over to the R's, and here we go. We have 2 copies of Rock Band Blitz. So you might need to annotate and see which one is which, and in order to do that, you can just highlight one of them within Aurora, tap the A button, now go down, and we're going to be looking for this option here, I believe. Yes, it's going to be this icon. You're going to tap over to the left, and you want the file manager to come up. Now tap the A button, and you should see here that it's going to bring us to an extracted copy of the game. So that means this is our ultimate modded version. Since we know which one that is, we can exit out of here. Now go all the way to the bottom and tap A on the rename option, and you can rename this to something such as, well, Rock Band Blitz Ultimate, just so we know which one this is. Once that's been renamed, you can hit the Start button on there, and even if you want to, you could go one step further and you could change the cover art. Again, for that, you would have to come to this option here, the preview option, and navigate over to the left until it brings up download cover. Tap the A button, and if you're on your network, you can pick a custom cover on here. I'm going to go ahead and pick this one, wait for it to download, install. I'm not sure how different it will be. Yeah, it's slightly different, so you can tell a little bit of a difference there. But you can see here, this one is a little bit more customized, so we know which one is the original version and which one is our modified build. Now in order to test this, go ahead, tap the A button, and wait for it to load up. You're going to see an immediate difference where it's going to bring up ultimate mods as opposed to the standard opening sequences. And then once this screen comes up here, you're going to want to make sure that there's music playing in the background. And if there's music playing in the background, you should be good. If there's no music playing in the background, you probably have a Corona motherboard, you're going to need that plugin, and if you've installed the plugin, make sure it's installed properly, make sure you've restarted your system. Again, if you come to this screen and there's no music playing in the background, you probably need that plugin. However, we can now see that we've been able to at least install the modified build onto the Xbox 360. Now in PS3, you're going to notice this is going to be a lot easier to modify. If you have a USB drive plugged in, right click, make sure it is FAT32 in file system, and it also has to be MBR instead of GPT. I won't show that in detail because if you've had a modified PS3 for any amount of time, you should know how to set up your USB drive there. But within your USB drive, enter that, and then take your Rock Band Blitz Ultimate package file, copy and paste it there. Again, this does require that you have the game already installed because this is going to be patched on top of the game. And once that's been transferred over, go out here, right click, eject your USB drive, and take it over to the PS3. Over at the PS3, you're going to need access to the package manager. If you already have this here on custom firmware, you should be good. If you have PS3 HIN, make sure you enable PS3 HIN, and then you can access the package manager. Plug in your USB drive, go to the package manager, install package files, standard, and you're going to want to find Rock Band Blitz Ultimate. Go ahead, tap the X button on here, and wait a few seconds for this to install. And there we go, your copy of Rock Band has now been modified. You can see right here, Rock Band Blitz Ultimate is showing up. So that's all there is to it. Now we're getting to the fun part here, which is going to be downloading and converting and installing our custom tracks. So there's many different ways that you can get these files here. Probably the biggest repository I've seen has been Rhythmverse. However, if you look around, you might be able to find some other sites and such that do have these here. And you can see it's for a series of different games. Now, in order to find anything, you're going to click on Find Content and wait for this to load up. Do keep in mind it might take a little bit to bring up the first time here, but that's expected. Now from here you can see they have tons of files, so you can scroll down and you can find really anything that you're wanting to download. Or you can of course look for one of your favorite artists or songs. For me, I'm actually going to, put a couple on here. I'm going to put my favorites personally. I'm going to throw on Nothing Nowhere, so let's go ahead and look him up. Give him a search, and I'm going to download a couple for this example here. Now the first one here, you'll see this one is a multi-track one for Nightmare. It shows which instruments are on here as well as the difficulties, so not all of them will have instruments because you can see this one has 4 of them. However, most of these songs just have the guitar track on here, which is fine. You're also going to see there's different formats on here. So this first one is going to be for Rock Band 3 for Xbox 360. That's not going to matter all too much, and I'll show you once we convert it. However, you can click on the download right here and wait a few moments for this to download. Now find a folder you want to save these to. I'm going to go into my custom songs folder, and the file name should look something like this if it's a Xbox 360 con file. Just go ahead and save this. Now the next song I'll try to download here will be Misery Syndrome, just because this one here, I like this song. It's only guitars, but this is a Clone Hero formatted song. So in order to download this, you just need to click on the download as usual. Of course, wait for this to load in, and there's going to be some songs at times you're going to come to a Google Drive link such as this. Now, depending on if you're logged in or not, you click on the folder itself here, and there'll be a drop down to download everything. Or you can click on the download all, because we're going to need all of the files right here. So I'll click on download all, and you can see down here that it's going to be preparing a zip file, which is exactly what we need. Go ahead, give it a few moments to create that zip. And once it's been created, I at least like to take off the date and time information, but we can now click on save, and there we go, that one's been saved. The next one I'm going to look up here is going to be Tool, because again, one of my favorites on here and some really great songs to play on this. Classic song and one of their shorter ones. Let's go ahead and grab Schism, for example. So for this, even though this is just a guitar only track, this one is a Clone Hero formatted download, which is going to be fine. We'll be able to work with that. So you can go ahead, click on the download button and wait for it to download. So with our customs downloaded, go ahead and find wherever you've saved them to, and inside of here you could see I have Nightmare, and then I have these zips for Misery Syndrome as well as Schism. For these here, if they come in a zip, you are going to have to extract them into a folder. So you can go ahead, highlight them, right click, and use something such as 7-zip to extract them each into their own folders. And once those have been extracted, I'm going to personally get rid of the zip files. Now we're about to start converting here, so make sure Onyx has been installed. It is a standard install process, but just keep in mind if you run this on Windows, if you double click it, you might get a message like this. You're going to have to click on More Info and then click on Run Anyway. And if user account control bugs you, say yes. Now again, this is a pretty standard install process, so I'm not going to walk through it since I already have it installed, but once it's all installed, you can go ahead, open up Onyx, and it brings up something like this here. Now, in order to get everything converted, if you're going to be converting multiple songs, let's go ahead and do a batch recompile. So you can click on that, and once it brings it up here, we can bring up our folder, and we need to drag and drop the two folders. Or if you can't drag and drop, you can always just click on Add Song. But for these two, I'm going to grab these ones here. And keep in mind, this file I know for sure is for the Xbox 360, but for example, if you're wanting to run this on PS3, that is possible. You are going to have to add in Xbox 360 content to convert it to PS3 and vice versa. However, these two are clone hero tracks here, so we need to make them compatible for Rock Band Blitz. For this, there's no Blitz tab, but you're going to click on Rock Band 3 since that is going to be backwards compatible, so to speak. Now you can change these settings on here. I personally keep everything default, and then you need to click on how you want to convert them. You can convert them to either PS3 files or Xbox 360 files. First, I'm going to convert them for Xbox 360. So I'll click on Create Xbox 360 Con Files, and now wait for this to run through the songs. It shouldn't take all too long, but of course it depends on your computer specifications as well as how much content you're loading up on here. But just wait for this to finish. Now as you can see, 2 out of 2 tasks are complete, 2 have succeeded, 0 have failed, which is great. So for this, I'll also show you we can close out of here. If you want to convert them to PS3, for example, it's really the same thing. You can do a batch recompile. We're now going to add in the songs here. So for example, I need Misery Syndrome. Let's get Tool Schism. That was already in here, but we'll drag that in. And since this one, Nightmare, is a Xbox 360 file, well, let's go ahead and convert it to a different console. With all those done, again, click on RB3, and this time around we can create PS3 package files. And it's really the same process, it's just going to be a different format. This one took a tiny bit longer, but that's fine, so we can close out of this, and now close out of Onyx once you're done. Now go wherever you have your customs, and you should see them here. As you can see, if you're going to be doing this on PS3, you're going to have some package files. And if you're not seeing these extensions, within Windows you can click on View, Show, File Name Extensions. So the package files, we'll be installing those later, and then of course we have our con files for Xbox 360. Now for either system, I'm going to be using a USB drive for this here, but let's work on the Xbox 360 first because there's 1 or 2 gotchas I want to show you. If you're on Xbox 360, fire up Horizon, make sure your USB drive is plugged in, and for these con files, you're going to want to modify the file names themselves just for a better success rate. I've just noticed I've had some issues before transferring over files and they don't show up on the console. So my recommendations, something like Nothing Nowhere Nightmare, this one is pretty simple, this one should be fine. Tool Schism, this one the length is okay, however, you might want to just get rid of any type of special characters such as these ones here. So I'm going to personally get rid of that and get rid of these spaces on there and just make it a little more simplified. And for Nothing Nowhere Misery Syndrome, this one is also a long file name. So one thing I've noticed is you don't want your file names to be over, I would say 40 characters from my count, if that's accurate, but it also helps to take out any type of special characters. So for this, we're going to simplify it again. I'm just going to strip that down. We're going to get rid of some of these spaces and such, and that should be okay. So now that we've simplified our file names, let's minimize out of this, and over in our games section, we can go ahead, right click, and click on Inject File. Go to wherever you have these saved, so mine's going to be in Custom Songs, and over here, here's the first one. So Misery Syndrome, it's transferred over. We're going to do the exact same thing with Nightmare. And the last thing is going to be Schism. There we go. And this one here you might see is a Rock Band 2 piece of content, but that will still work on Blitz, so we don't need to convert that over. Once that's all done, we can go ahead and close out of Horizon, and within your File Explorer window, click on your USB drive and click on Eject. Back over at the Xbox 360, plug in your USB drive, and we could do this through the File Explorer here, but I'm actually going to prefer to do this over through the system settings. And again, this is to make sure that our actual content shows up. So for this, go down to your storage and now load up your USB drive. Over here, go to Games and Apps, and you should find your content here. And you can see here, for example, Nothing Nowhere Nightmare transferred over successfully. So for this, I'm going to either copy or move it. You could do either or, but I'm going to choose to copy it to my internal drive since that is where Rock Band Blitz is. Once that's done, go down to Rock Band 3, and you can see here both songs have successfully shown up. Now I'm going through this because, like I said, if they don't show up through here, then there might be an issue with the file name being too long, special characters, things like that. So you're going to want to simplify that file name before you transfer it over. But since I have a couple songs here, I'm going to highlight Rock Band 3, tap the Y button, go to copy, and copy these to the internal drive. And once those have been transferred over, that's all we need. So we can go ahead, open up our guide, and go back to Aurora. We also no longer need our USB drive if we're just using it to transfer files, so I've disconnected it and it's going to show here on screen. There we go. Now if you're on PS3, just like before, you can go to your custom songs, and here you're going to be looking for the package files. And again, if you don't see the package extension, you can click on View, Show, and make sure file name extensions is enabled. Now I went through this whole process talking about the file names for the Xbox 360. We really don't have to worry about that for PS3, thankfully. But you can go ahead, grab your package files here. So I'm going to organize by type, highlight whichever ones you want, right click, copy them out. Now go back over to your USB drive. And if you have the mod here, you can now delete this since we've already installed it. But you can now right click and paste your content in the root of the USB drive. Once that's been transferred over, right-click, eject your USB drive, take it back over to the PS3. At the PS3, again, plug in your USB drive, go to the Content Manager, install package files, standard, and once this loads in, you should see your custom content right here. And just like before, you just need to go in and install each of these. So here's the first one for Schism, give it a few moments, that's done, and just like all the other ones, install, standard, let's go ahead, load in Misery Syndrome. That's been installed, and the last one for me at least is going to be, let's see, Nightmare. So just like before, tap X, let it install, and there you go. If you're on PS3, congratulations, your custom content has now been installed. So now with our content installed over, we can navigate over to Rock Band Blitz Ultimate. Make sure it is the Ultimate version if you're on Xbox 360, and tap the A button to load in. Once it brings us up, tap the A button, wait for it to load, and check it out, it discovered downloadable content. Now we're going to just hit select, and select yet again to play in offline mode. Now you can go to the play option, and check this out, you should see we have Nothing Nowhere here loaded in, so we have both of those songs, and if we scroll down, we also have Tool right here. So all of our content has been added successfully. Now to actually make sure it works, this is the fun part, we can now tap the A button and go in to play it. Now you can also pick your power-ups as well too, but just to show you that it's working, I'm just going to hit play song. Wait for this to load up. And this is another thing as well, if you're just stuck at that loading screen, again, that means you have a Corona Xbox 360 and you need that plugin. But once it tells you press A to begin, well, that's all there is to it. Tap the A button and press A to begin. And as you can see here, you might not be able to hear it, but it is loading up. Now I'm not playing this here because I cannot hear it and there's going to be a little bit of lag time on my setup here, but you can see that it is working successfully. So there you go, you now have custom songs added to your copy of Rock Band Blitz. Anyways, that is about it for this video here. Hopefully this helped out, hopefully this got you up and running, and I will say this was a pretty fun process to get into and figure out. So I had a lot of fun setting this up, playing some of my favorite songs through Rock Band Blitz, and I hope you all do the same as well too, if you are at the end of this video. If it helped out, a like would absolutely be appreciated, and if you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well too. But as I always say, this is Mr. Mario, signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone.